Greetings, my friends. It is Dr. Jimmy again. Hello. Yes, lurking in the shadows. And as usual, let's show off the t-shirt of the day. Today's t-shirt is this one from Halloween Horror Nights 23, Infected. It was basically a random zombie thing, I guess fitting in with all the Walking Dead they had that year. Actually on the back it reads Universal's Halloween Horror Nights 2013, which means it could be for either Hollywood or Orlando. They could sell it at both parks. Clever of them, because it didn't fit in specifically with any one particular house or maze. Alright, enough of that. Let's get on with it. Big news, big revelations for Halloween Horror Nights occurred this past week. Today, by the way, is Friday, the 11th day of August. It's exactly 5 weeks until Halloween Horror Nights begins in Orlando and Hollywood. Wow. It's also, just 4 weeks and 1 day before it begins in Japan, because it starts on Saturday the 9th. The 8th of September, the Friday, will only be for the press in Japan. So the actual first night for Halloween Horror Night in Japan is Saturday the 9th of September. That's just a little bit, that's less than a month really, because that's, it's the 11th already. So it's less than a month, but 4 weeks and 1 day for Japan. And Halloween Horror Nights Singapore, we now know Halloween Horror Nights 7 will begin in, 7 weeks, 49 days, on September 29th of 2017 at Universal Studios Singapore. And that's the event we got all the news about this last week. Nothing about Orlando or Hollywood or even Japan. Actually, they pretty much revealed the whole thing about Japan. There's not much left to reveal, except maybe they'll do something for Harry Potter again this year, but we don't know yet. But what we do know now is what's happening in Singapore at last. The last one to start this year of the 4 Horror Night events. And the last one to end. Turns out the dates will be on select evenings, only Friday, Saturdays and Sundays, but not the first weekend, just Friday, Saturday, and the successive weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, only, so that it begins on September 29th and ends 1 month later, October 29th. It doesn't even go to Halloween. I don't know why, maybe because Halloween really isn't a big deal in Singapore, except for Horror Nights. People from Australia or other parts of the world go there to celebrate Horror Nights. They might be more interested in Halloween night themselves, but in Singapore, Halloween isn't really a holiday, but they do have Horror Nights, and it's become very, very popular now for the 7th time around, but will only be on 14 select nights. That's less than last year, but still it looks like they're planning to top the event from last year with all kinds of incredible stuff. So let's get on with it. This last Wednesday, August 9th, was a major national holiday in Singapore. It's their national day. So we didn't get anything until it was the 10th. Of course, the lovely international dateline, by Wednesday evening, it was already Thursday morning. And that's when we found out, joy, 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 what was coming up. And it was indeed the website for the event finally went live, and as in the previous years, the website for Halloween Horror Nights in Singapore is like the old school websites we used to have in Orlando that would tease the event bit by bit and have all kinds of interactive stuff. Ooh, and not tell you everything right away. Oh, joy. Now, for those of you who want to be teased over the next few weeks to find out little bits more and more as it goes on, you should stop after I'm through talking about the website, because the remaining event was fully revealed through Resort World Sentosa's blog, And also they put out press releases, and lovely deadjeckie.com. I highly recommend those if you want to find out more about the event. It is exciting, and maybe you can't help yourself. I couldn't. But we'll start with what was on the website itself. Now, on the website we see an image right away. Now, actually, I should say, a couple of days before that, a video showed up online at Vimeo. And it was the actual television commercial, the promotional video for the event. It was released, and then it was taken down quickly afterwards, but now it's on YouTube along with the full reveal, so I'm not betraying anything by telling you what's in the video. It starts out, it's all done POV from one guy's point of view. Like this guy is seeing what's going, what you're seeing is through his eyes. So he wakes up and he's lying on a bed in a hospital. So you see the doctors with their masks and the bright lights. He's on a table in the hospital operating room. The doctors are coming around him. He's like, and you see his hands. He doesn't know. You can see his little feet, because it's all from his point of view shot. Then suddenly everything goes a little strange, and then he's no longer in hospital. He's in what looks like a medieval torture chamber, not from Europe, but from medieval China, from sometime maybe around the Qing dynasty, I'm guessing, because of that. I know it's the Qing dynasty, but that's... that's what I'm not guessing at all, actually. And there's torture implements, and he's chained, and his bare feet are wiggling, and he can't get loose. He's chained down. What's going on? He sees some nasty, pointy things that are used to torture. And here comes a Chinese man in the correct costume, with the branding iron. It's the same branding iron we saw before, that little leaked image. Great big square branding iron marked with that ideogram that looks kind of like this. That is the Chinese character Ren, which means human being or person. And he comes at him, it's all glowing, he's going to brand him. It goes towards his face with the branding iron, and he screams, and then it changes again. And now it's like, where is he? He's standing now, and there's mannequins in front of him, like with weird silver face, and he bumps into, knocks a mannequin over, and he's staggering around. He's in a big, beautiful shopping mall, like a beautiful shopping mall in one of the upscale neighborhoods of Singapore. Very lovely, and he's walking around the shopping mall, and as he staggers, doesn't know where he is, he's still disoriented. Other people kind of stare at him, other shoppers, and he's looking, and suddenly there's a shaking, and he looks up, and his hands are like this. He looks up, and you see his hands, and there's rubble falling from the ceiling. It's been an earthquake or something, and stuff is coming, and you see it hits one person, they fall on the ground, and he's terrified, and he's trying to move, and there's more of it, and it just, everything goes black, it collapses, and he gets up, and you see from his point of view, it's dark, and there's a rubble lying everywhere, and then he pulls out his phone. He pulls out his phone like this, because he's using his flashlight. So you don't see this, but what you see is the light from his phone from behind. He's using the flashlight then to see through the rubble, and picking his way through the rubble with this phone in his hand in front of his face, because you can't see his face, it's all from his point of view. And he's looking through the rubble, and all of a sudden there's a horrible noise. He looks up, and this ghastly demonic figure, like a woman, a ghost or a hag or some sort of horrible female spirit, comes down at him, and he's like, ah! And then he wakes up, and he's back on the operating table. There aren't any doctors around now. He's just lying there. Has it all been a nightmare? And he looks at his hand. He sees his hand, and he turns his head. The camera turns, and there's a little mirror, and he can see his face. Now you see his face for the first time, and he's got this horrible scar, like a number 7, cutting across his face, and it's sutured very roughly, and it's disfigured him horribly. And he sees his face with this horrible thing, and he screams, ah! And then it comes up, Universal Studios Singapore Halloween Horror Night 7 on select nights, and it shows that says, beginning September 29th, and 5 haunted houses and 2 killer shows, and more. And that's the promise of the little video. Yes, very lovely. What does it all mean? There's haunted houses set in Chinese torture chambers, maybe one set in a hospital. What's with the face? What about that shopping mall earthquake and demon? What is all that? Oh, it's exciting. Is there an icon in this? Well, I don't know. I can't tell. It doesn't really say. It's all just mysterious. So when the website went live, first thing we see is a picture of a Asian girl, and she's in a clothing store. She's a rack of clothes that she's been looking at, and there's a mirror behind it. But appearing in the mirror is that same horrible female demon-looking creature. And she's like, ah, she's scared. And, you know, her reflection is there, but she sees this monster coming up. Is it right behind her? We don't see that. Is it just in the mirror? It's very scary. And it says, oh, there was also a logo. It's a number 7, and it's made up. It's made up of the word 7 in all sorts of different languages that are spoken in Singapore. Remember, Singapore is a very international, Pan-Asian city. So there's English, but also Malay and Tamil and Mandarin, and even Japanese was in there, and possibly Korean and some other language, probably Thai, a few other languages. I'm not familiar with the number 7 in every language, but I know that in Mandarin it's chi, and in Japanese it's either shichi or nana, and I think it's tuju in Malay or Tamil. I forget which one that was, but they have all these different, and so that's what it represents, 7 in all these different languages. So that's that. But you also see this image, and it says highlight this week, Deathmore. And of course, there's been already jokes about Darth Maul. Remember Bill and Ted a few years back when the Phantom Menace was out? We had Darth Maul and Mini Maul and Strip Maul and Mall Cop and all of that. Lots of jokes about the name Maul. But this is the Death Maul. So there's definitely a scary haunted house set in a shopping mall. Now, you try to look up more information. The haunted houses, there's 5 of them, and you have 5 pictures, but some of them are blurred. They aren't clickable yet, but when you put your cursor over them, it tells you when the update will be for each haunted house. The first one, Deathmore, is there with that horrible face. That same demonic face. And we find out that the remaining 4 haunted houses will be revealed on August 18th, 25th, September 1st, and September 8th. In other words, over the next 4 weeks on Fridays. And of course, as I should remind you, sometime in the afternoon of the Thursday is when you'll be able to see it, because we're on the side of the date line. So in other words, the next update would be Thursday afternoon, 17th of August, and then you'll see the one for the next haunted house. But it doesn't reveal what the haunted houses are. You go to Scare Zones, it doesn't reveal coming soon. Oh, there's 2 of them and 2 shows coming soon. So what does it all mean? There's a game you can play, though, for Deathmore. If you click on that, you go to a game, and in the game, there's also some sweepstakes for free trips to Horror Nights, but only for the park. For those of us living over here, we'd have to get our own airfare and our own hotels. If we actually won a prize, we'd only be able to get park admission, I guess. And I don't know if that's economical, even with the free tickets. You know, you'd still have to pay for the whole trip. So, it's better for people who actually live in Singapore, I guess. But the first game, which will enter you in the sweepstakes, you have like a little grid comes up. It's a maze, and there's 2 little footprints. That's your feet, and you have to use the arrow directions on your keyboard to move the little feet along through the maze. But oh my, the feet move faster than you think, and they go past where you need to turn before it's very difficult. And as you do, debris starts falling and smoke starts rising, and if you get to a point that a clock timer runs out before you get all the way through the maze, that horrible demonic creature comes at you and scares you in a nasty jump shock. And so, oh dear, it's boo, yes. And so I haven't been able to win it yet, and I don't know if there's anything if you win, but if you lose even, you get to tweet or Facebook link it, which is all nice. But if you tweet it, for whatever reason in English, it has more than 140, and I had to do some editing to the message would be there, but shorter. Halloween Horror Nights, I just took that down to HHN, and I altered took a word out here and there that wasn't necessary, so I could put that on Twitter. So that was that. But I didn't do it to Facebook though. But it links to the site, so that's fun. You can pass it on to other people that way. But there's one more thing revealed on the website. Only one more thing. And it tells you about something new. Besides the haunted houses and scare zones and shows, they have an interactive game going on, not like Legendary Truth. This is more like what they do in Japan with escape rooms and things. And remember, they did the Resident Evil thing a couple of years ago. This time in Singapore for Horror Night 7, they're going to have zombie laser tag, which is, I guess, exactly what it sounds like. You're in there with your doing laser tag, but there's zombies coming at you. And when you go on it on the screen, well, let me just say, be warned. Because this is a site that likes to do that to you, and you never know when something will happen. So it's fun to see that too. So the site gave all that information. Okay, if you want to just go on the site and see what happens, and as different houses and scare zones are revealed over the next several weeks, stop watching the video now. But if you want to hear the full reveal of the entire event, stay right where you are as I proceed. There, fair warning. Now, okay, so I thought, where can I find more information? Because last year they did a similar thing, but you could find more about the event and all the houses and scare zones and shows and the icon and everything if you went and looked around. And I first went to Resort World Sentosa website for Universal Studios Singapore and clicked on events, and it came up a little bit of information about Halloween Horror Night 7. It gave a little more information. It said something about the 7 deadlier sins. So that sounds like a theme to me. Okay, there's a theme for the event, 7 deadlier sins. But icon is a no icon. It had the same image of the Asian girl in the clothing store and that creature going at her. And I of course, because I like to post images on different places to talk about it on my Tumblr, and also posting at Horror Night Nightmares, because I like to post and update people on what's happening in Singapore. I pulled the image off on my computer and saved it. And when I did that, I saw the JPEG, or whatever it was labeled HHN 7 Malice. Malice? That looked like a proper name. Is that the name of that creature? Is she the icon? Is there an icon called Malice? Ooh, how interesting. That sounds like I wasn't sure, because I was worried there might not be an. They didn't have one in 2015, for example, in Singapore, although we had Jack here. The fact is, since 2000, there's always been one event icon at a horror night somewhere in the world. Even 2004, there was one in Barcelona. But if there was no icon in Singapore this year, that means we'd have no icons anywhere, because we're not having one in Orlando, apparently, and not having one in Hollywood or Japan. They never have them in Hollywood anymore, and they have never had them in Japan. And if they aren't doing one in Orlando, we may be stuck with a year without an icon at all. Ooh. But no, it looks like maybe there will be one in Singapore. How exciting. Well, I had to find out more. And then, later in the evening, I discovered that Resort World Sentosa's blog for the event came up with a full description of the event. Although there's some things they haven't completely revealed. More stuff will be coming out later, they said. But it was exciting, though, to see that, because there was information, and this is the first exciting thing. The 7 deadlier sins are the icons, not icon. 7 icons! The most we've ever had as event icons at one event was in 2006, where we had 4 icons for Sweet 16, Jack, caretaker, director, storyteller, all sharing the event icon duties. Other icons have shown up during anniversary events as recently as 2015, but there was only one event icon. For example, Jack in 2015 or Fear in 2010. But there are 7 actual event icons. They are the 7 deadlier sins, which are worse than the 7 deadly sins, apparently, or this is a new way of thinking about it, and their names are Malice, the only one we've seen so far. That's the one that we've seen in all the commercials and all the artwork, and apparently will be featured very strongly. That's why they started off with her, but Malice is the first. But there are 6 other, they're called the Sinisters. I guess that's a pun, Sinisters, right? The Sinisters, I don't know if they're all going to be female, if they'll be male and female mix, who knows? But the 7 deadlier sins are malice, and then cruelty, and narcissism, obsession, perversion, manipulation, and deception, the 7 deadlier sins, and they will be featured throughout the event. In fact, there'll be a sin featured in each of the 5 haunted houses. Of course, that means 2 more have to be somewhere else. So, first of all, Deathmore, which is set in a shopping mall where a natural disaster has occurred, apparently an earthquake, and as you try to climb through the rubble, the spirits of the dead who are angry come at you in the form of malice. So malice is featured in Deathmore. Now, the other 4 haunted houses that have not yet shown up on the website, but now we know what they are. The first one is called Make the Cut. This is themed to K-pop, you know, Korean pop bands and boy bands, girl bands, and the whole Korean music scene. There's a new type of pop music out of Korea called gore pop. And I guess, from what I've been read about it, is that, you know, the performers are disfigured horribly, and groupies, they want to be a part of the gore pop scene and become a star. Well, they have to make the cut, literally. And the sin involved in that is narcissism. All right, the next house, pardon me, is Hex. Hex is a voodoo-themed haunted house, and there's an image that shows like a jungle set with like voodoo artifacts. Apparently someone stalking that is called the Midnight Man, and he is able to control people, I guess, through voodoo. Is he, you know, dolls maybe? I don't know. There wasn't much information, just some vague synopsis about voodoo. And this, and of course the sin here is manipulation. Is the Midnight Man himself manipulation, the icon? I don't know. All right, the 4th house is called Terror Cata, not terracotta, but Terror Cata, and maybe it's Terror Cata Empress, because that's the way I saw it written up on Dejiki, but on the Resort World blog it just said Terror Cata. Dejiki got his information from a press release, so it could be Terror Cata Empress. It's set in the Qing dynasty. Remember the commercial, the torture? Yeah, the Qing Empress wants to live forever, and she wants to have an army of terracotta warriors, like the great Emperor Qin Shi Huangdi once had created the terracotta warriors. But in this case, the Qing Empress is going to make them out of human beings and turn them into this legion of clay warriors. Kind of reminds me of that Curse the Dragon Emperor, the Mummy. Of course, that was also Qin Shi Huangdi. But the terracotta, so that's what that's going to be about. The sin here is cruelty. All right, so the icon of cruelty will be featured in this haunted house, and maybe the icon of cruelty is the Qing Empress. Again, I'm not certain. The 5th house is called Inside the Mind, and it shows an image like a prison, but it shows like a large picture of a brain. And I guess in this one, you're in a prison, but it's inside your mind, and you're caught in this mental, psychological ward of whatever it is. It's again, it's rather vague, but it sounds kind of interesting, sort of psychological mind visions inside a prison. And the sin here is obsession. I guess they're using their obsessions to control your mind. So that's the 5 haunted houses. There are 2 scare zones. One of the scare zones will feature all 7 of the icons. It'll be called Pilgrimage of Sin. There's little artwork showing the sign and some of what the street would look like, and it looks like it's going on the New York street set for Universal Studios Singapore. And all 7 of these icons will be featured in this zone, which will be like a showcase of the icons, probably lots of photo ops as usual. The other scare zone, though, features the icon Perversion and his or her own scare zone, which is called Happy Horror Days. And the artwork shows like a park, weird, twisted Tim Burton looking, an evil looking Humpty Dumpty, a twisted Easter bunny, and the description basically sounds like HR Blood and Guts to me, because it's like holidays twisted into nightmare horrors, and Easter, and I don't know what Humpty Dumpty would be. Maybe he's for the Easter as well, but also other holidays that have been twisted. And I don't know if it'll just be Western holidays. It might be some Singaporean holidays as well. I have no idea. But it's this twisted holiday horror ruled over by the sin of perversion, who's perverting nice things and making them evil, I guess. You didn't think it was going to be some other type of perversion, did you? It might be a bit more adult than we thought if it was. But no, that's perversion's scare zone. So that's what that one gets, just a scare zone. But also in the other scare zone, because all 7 are in the pilgrimage scare zone. And then the 2 shows were described. The first one features plague doctors. That sounds like catacombs. Something to do with the Black Death and plague doctors, and it's called Laboratorium or something like that. Yeah, I think that's what it was called. And it features the sin of deception. So deception only gets a show, doesn't get a zone or a house, but gets a show, and of course is featured with the other 6 in the pilgrimage zone. So that's where that one is. And guess who gets the other show? Narcissism. Well, of course, because the narcissistic sin wants more than just one house, wants something else too. So narcissism gets a show, and this one features the K-pop, gore pop girl band called the Slit Face Girls, and will feature shows that that creepy girl band will be performing for you. And of course, narcissism rules over that also. Maybe the lead singer of that band is the icon Narcissism, I'm not sure, but sounds like a lot of fun. So that's what they've got for us there at Singapore this year. If you're able to get over there, I'd love to. I really would, especially because every year it seems like it gets better and better, and their event is the sort of horror nights that most of us crazed, demented fans want so badly for Orlando, because it's all originals. All original houses, original scare zones, original shows and icons that they've created for the event. And there's no IPs whatsoever. In the 7 years they've done this, they've only had one IP, which was a series of local books in Singapore, Real Singapore Ghost Stories by Russell Lee, that was used 1 year in a haunted house. But other than that, they've never touched any other. They've never had any movies or TV shows or anything else. So it's all original all the time, and they have new icons all the time, except 1 year they didn't have them, but they still have all these wonderful characters, and it's so amazing that they're doing this year after year. Why can't they do that here? It's all IPs all the time, and we don't always get icons, and when we do lately, they just dredge up Jack or Chance or somebody from the past, and they don't create a new one. We haven't had a brand new icon since Lady Luck in 2011 in Orlando. I don't know why. I guess they think that's what works best over here. But in Singapore, my God, if I had the time and money to fly over there and spend a few days, I would delightfully. Oh, I wish I'd seen last year's Lady Death thing. It looks spectacular. And I'm sure there'll be lots more information. Of course, to get more information, keep an eye on the Resort World Sentosa blog. Keep an eye on deadjackie.com, because he will update that as more information comes out. And also, of course, the website itself will be teasing the remaining haunted houses and eventually scare zones and shows over the next several weeks. And we know a new house will be revealed every week for the next 4 weeks, starting next week Friday. And every time that happens, there'll be a new game to play with some thrills and chills there as well. And as that happens, we'll start to see what the other 6 icons look like, because we've only seen one so far, but we know there's 6 others waiting for us. So I'm just really thrilled by the whole thing. And again, I highly recommend it. And if you can ever get to Singapore, then go and do it, because it looks spectacular. It's weird. I'm more excited about this Horror Nights in Asia, far away from here, than the one that's happening in my own hometown here in Orlando. And it's like, I've never missed Orlando, but gee, I wouldn't want to miss Orlando to go to Singapore. I'd only go for a couple of days and come back and do the rest of this event. But, geez, boy, I wish they could pull that kind of stuff off over here nowadays. All right, so that wraps this up. Later today, I might make my 8th video for the history of Halloween Horror Nights 25 if I have time and opportunity. But for now, I'll leave off with that. And it's just now all 4 Halloween Horror Nights events this year have at least had some information out. Japan and Singapore are pretty much revealed now, but we still don't know what's happening exactly for the remaining haunted houses in Orlando. There's about, what, 6 remaining haunted houses and scare zones left to hear about. And over in Hollywood, there's still 3 mazes left, although I do throw one little bit in. Yesterday, there might have been a slip-up. John Murdy, on his Twitter for Hollywood, tweeted a picture of prop body parts for one of the haunted mazes, and said, it shows all these arms and legs been chopped up, and people said, ooh, that's creepy. But then someone noticed, if you zoom in, look really closely, there's a little slip of paper under one of the severed limbs, and you could easily see a word on it, 3 letters, S-A-W. Ooh, did they just slip up and accidentally leak that Saw will be one of the mazes in Hollywood? It's been rumored for some time that there'll be a Saw-themed maze in Hollywood and a haunted house in Orlando. Is this a little inadvertent confirmation? And people started pointing it out, and Murray took the tweet down right away. And by taking the tweet down right away, that's almost a confession, isn't it? So we might have just gotten some little accidental leak about Saw, but we don't know for sure because nothing's been revealed yet about the 3 remaining mazes in Hollywood, or 6 remaining haunted houses in Orlando. So let's keep sure to come soon. It's already August 11th after all. It's only 5 weeks. So let's keep a lookout. You never know when we'll hear something next. Yeah.